Home, the gold.
He could be too far. No, he's digging. Oh, what a catch!
Puts a spicy forehand out in front of Naomi Morcilla.
Wu for the win. Team Canada. Darren Wu!
Santos with the layout grab.
Oh, that fantastic grab. The claws of Chaffer.
Canada just became the world champions.
Canada and the rest of the world, you're listening to the Huckin podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Theo from Toronto, Ontario.
And I'm Danie Proby from Vancouver, BC. And together we are coast to coast guide to all things Canadian Ultimate. Talking about Ultimate, changing it up ever so slightly. Talking about Ultimate, Theo, any news to update on your front?
I mean, I may or may not be on a practice or an extended roster. So first practice here today. Pretty excited to get out there. So that's the news on my end. We'll get to that in the news of what team it is. You also have some news related to roster, which you can share now or share later.
Yeah, I get to play on Traffic again this season, which is very exciting. And I'll chat a little bit more about Traffic in the news section. But before we even head there, I just kind of want to talk a little bit about our last episode. I guess something was brought to light to me today, actually, about something I said that was misconstrued or maybe wasn't said in the way that I intended. And I often forget that sometimes people might listen to this that don't know me really well personally and know my history and know kind of like that I coached 3 teams one season and I'm running from this thing to that thing, dedicating all of my spare time to improving kids' lives and to help coaches. So not everybody knows that and it's fair. So in the last episode, I was talking about high school spirit and we were talking about coaches, and it is a problem in BC. I don't know if other places have the same problem, but there's lots of kids and they're like, help us find a coach. We need a coach. We have the team. We just need an adult that can like sign off and say that they're there. And that is a problem that we've seen a lot in BC, where there's just not enough people that have the time to volunteer. And so when I think you had asked a question and I said, I think you would ask like what qualifications people need. And I said, oh, they just need a pulse and a willingness to show up. What I mean by that is that we're so desperate for people that have time and are willing to show up. But what that sounds like, if you don't know me and you don't know the context, is that I don't value the volunteer coaches that exist in the sport, which is absolutely not true. And if you were offended by what I said, I am very sorry. That is not what I mean at all. And again, if you knew me, you would know that that's not what I mean, but not everybody knows me. And I should be a bit more careful with my words. I do appreciate coaches that are volunteering their time. Like I am one. So I'm right there with you in the trenches. And I think a few of the things that I said potentially could rub people the wrong way, thinking that I was talking about team A, team B, whatever. Often I was even talking about my own team when I was referring to spirit issues. And I still struggle with trying to get my team to kind of understand what the concept of spirit is when there's been a couple years off of Ultimate. It's hard to explain a concept of something when they have no examples of it in their lives. So I definitely empathize for the struggles. I'm there too. And I just wanted to kind of address that up front, that I take for granted that not everybody knows me really well. So if I offend you, I'm sorry. That's my disclaimer.
Yeah, Danny, appreciate you sharing that. It takes a lot of humility, to admit when things go awry. But in truth, I did enjoy this discussion. I think, I think those who are listening that, maybe were offended or heard it in a different way. I ask that you accept what Danny said as an apology, but also kind of listen to some of the points as well of, things that can be always improved. I don't know. I'm a big believer of growth mindset, so we can always improve as coaches or as podcasters or whoever. So appreciate you sharing that. And if you know someone that needs to listen to that part, send it to them. And that's that. So
they'll find it.
We'll head to the news with that. We don't want to make this a somber episode.
Hey, it's not somber. It's an opportunity for growth, as you said, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, it's growth. We're not somber. It's growth, and we're gonna hit news now and talk some club updates because club season, as one podcast says, hot in the streets. So we're gonna head to the news right now.
We now have breaking news.
right. Welcome to your news section. As usual, we're going to start with you, Mr. Theo Wan.
All right, so a team that I was very hyped on last year, I picked them to win it. Not a controversial pick, but a pick that some people in Toronto were not happy with. I picked this team, Red Circus, to win, and they did. So thank you, Red Circus, for listening to the podcast and getting motivated, I guess. But their roster's out. I spoke with an insider that's close to the team and said basically 80% of the team is back. If you look at their roster, there's 2 rookies. So they're ready to go. They've made some noise before at U.S. Northeast Regionals. I'm expecting it again. And with Montreal also being in that region, Canadian teams are ready to light up Northeast Regionals this year. So that's all I'm saying. Like, I think all the teams, Sixers too, and then I know I think Union's going to go too. So lots of Northeast representation. I may have to go check it out is what I'm thinking. So that's the first announcement there, Danie. You want to talk? I want you to talk about your team. We're going to jump all the way to Vancouver and just like jump right in to your team had an announcement. Yeah, Traffic is back. Danny's back.
Danny's back. Yeah.
Danny's back though on Traffic.
So this is the first time. I don't know if I've said this on the podcast before, but this is my 5th time trying out for Traffic. 3 times that I tried out and I didn't make it all the way through tryouts, either because of injury or a death of my father. I made the team. The 1 year that I tried out and made it all the way through and felt really good, I didn't make the team. And so this year I made it. Well, I missed like the open tryout because I was coaching, but I made it through the 2 closed tryouts healthy. And I was like, I don't know if this is a bad omen or not, but so when I finally got the email squeaking in before midnight, I was ecstatic. So I'm excited to play another season. I felt really good about last year. I felt like I was on the come up at the ripe age of 33 by the end of the season. So I'm excited to hit the field with the team. And there's some new additions, which are really exciting. And we have a really talented practice roster as well. So I'm super excited. So there's some people that I have not really ever played with before either that I'm really excited to. And also a big, huge shout out to Kelly Luck, Elevate coach. She played on Eclipse back in the day. I think she was starting O-line for TT last year, and she's one of the rookies on Traffic this year. So super hard worker. I'm excited to dominate in the United States of America with her.
Yeah. So are you confirming then that Traffic will not be at Canadian Nationals? That is correct, right? That they will not be making.
It's not on our radar at this moment. Yeah. And I guess we're sticking with Vancouver news. I know that like TT is, I would think, finalized for the most part, their roster, because I'm hearing people that were kind of on the bubble saying in our Elevate Slack channel that they made it and stuff. So I think that roster is going to be dropped really soon. For Furious, they were supposed to be done their tryouts last week, and I think that they were it's so hard. There's so few spots on that team and so many talented players coming up and coming back that they had to extend their tryouts to this week as well. So it's Tuesday and it's potentially today, but I think it got rained out today. So they needed 2 more days to get a look at another like 5 or 6 players. So they're down to the wire. Should be announced soon.
And would you say they're probably looking more for like D-line, like kind of like to fill out the D-line spots? They probably got their O-line set, right?
I mean, there's always a couple people that kind of fluctuate between the two. It's hard to say. I know that some people are maybe only wanting to play WUC. Some people are only wanting to play the United States series. So it's hard to say what they're looking for. I don't sit in on those meetings, surprisingly.
We were just hoping for that inside info.
No info for you.
Yeah, I'm just looking here we talked about Winnipeg last week and how, like the winter thing, but Winnipeg General Strike did announce their tryouts May 12th and May 19th. So
nice.
If you're in the Winnipeg area, you got to head out, try out for General Strike. Excited to see what they do as well. And yeah, a couple other rosters got announced, Lowercase and Regiment. We don't have them. So if we have them, we can discuss it, but they've been announced. A team I know that's near and dear to your heart, even though they're from Ottawa, is Stellode. Is that how you say it?
Stellode.
Yeah, and just look at the roster. Got some legends out here from Ottawa that you probably have played with and that you know.
They're so good. It's such a fun roster and excited to see them at WUC.
Yeah, Samantha Green, Melissa Dunbar being some of them. So yeah, it should be exciting. We got a message that said, "Are you going to talk about us on the podcast?" So still, here is your timestamp it, send it to your teammates. We're talking about you. I am stoked about this team, especially because they added some West Coast flavor. Alex Davis, Bobo Eric. I hope that's how you say it. Like, they got some West Coast flavor in there. They already got a strong team. And could they, I don't want to jinx it, but could they be top 3, top 2? Like, I don't know. I'm excited about the roster is all I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't know. Those are a couple legends from the West being added, so I like their chances. It's an exciting team for sure.
Yeah, and speaking of excitement here, your boy, yours truly, on the extended roster. I will not be playing any tournaments really this summer, so I will be practicing at least with a team out of Toronto called Boat. So shout out to the Boat. People say I never give them love on the podcast, so timestamp it right now as well for you. I'm giving you some love. I'm excited for this team. A lot of young talent around, a couple Rush players as well joining it. Some young bucks, some young 18-year-olds on the team. It's exciting stuff. So that'll be sweet. I am planning to play Masters Nationals, Danny. I don't know if you are, but that is my plan, is to make my foray into the Masters scene, which you've been a part of for a bit. So
Hey, you don't got to age me like that. But yeah, I mean, I've been dabbling.
You admitted you were 33 just now, and you said you're on the come up, so you can still keep going. You know what I mean?
Hey, don't call me out like that.
So,
well, congrats on that. That's exciting. I wonder, like, I'm sure that it's legit, but I'm also sure that Boat wants you to talk about them as much as I talk about traffic. So they're going to get lots of love if they put you on the squad. So good job, Boat.
Well, no, I'm on the extended roster squad. Like I said, I won't be playing in tournaments, but I will be getting a lot of practice reps and talking smack during practice. So that's the plan.
Oh, excellent plan. Well, in terms of Cora, they're running the Prairie Disc Invite July 16th and 17th. It's an adult and juniors tournament. So look out for that if you are down to play some Frisbee in Saskatchewan.
Yeah, I would love to travel there, but, time is limited. But it'd be sweet to go check out a tournament out there. Mm-hmm. I've never really been to that province. So
same, just flown over it a bunch. You're like, oh, there's mountains and flat parts. Cool.
Flatland. That's definitely true.
And okay, so going to the U20 updates, I know that the U20 tryouts happened in Toronto and in Montreal last weekend, and I heard a lot of good feedback, especially on the women's side. I'm a little bit more in the know on that side. I want to do a special shout out to David Poirier, who's my coach for Cold for WUC, or whatever the World Masters Ultimate Championships in Ireland. But
WUMUC,
sure. He went out, drove 3 hours there, I think 3 hours back to film on the women's side, so that we were able to actually dissect a little bit more, because the talent coming out of Montreal and Ottawa is just extreme. And so we needed to make sure that we had all of the angles to be able to see. So all of the coaches in those areas have been doing a lot of work with their athletes during the pandemic, and it shows. So super exciting, super competitive. U20 tryouts are going to be in Winnipeg and Vancouver this weekend. Lots of athletes registered in the Vancouver side. So I'm very excited for that. All ages too, from like grade 8 up. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, I'm going to do this because normally Danny does this. So if you're on the fence, you need to try out.
It's too late.
Oh, it's too late to sign up?
Yeah, it's like deadline Monday.
Oh, shoot.
You can't do it.
Well, now you're just going to get FOMO if you didn't try out, because not only is Danny telling you to do it, but Theo is as well. So, yeah, I'm excited to hear who kind of stands out. Mm-hmm. Danny, I will say, I was looking at the U20 USA rosters that were out, and I was like, I don't recognize a lot of the names, and that's because we haven't seen a lot of these youth playing. So I'm interested to see, or to hear from your perspective very briefly, what it's like to maybe, the people from Vancouver, but the Ontario people you probably never heard of. So the film probably does really help, especially or the Quebec film, I guess.
Yeah, normally we would have a CUCs the year before to scout and to watch footage from those games. And because that hasn't been happening, we are definitely relying a lot on the local coaches. And there's coaches in both Quebec and Ontario that have coached at a national level. Like, they know what we're looking for. And so we really rely on their expertise on how coachable these athletes are, how much they've improved, kind of what their game sense is. That in combination with the prospect camp and the tryout, we do get enough data to make what I think are pretty good decisions based on the team that we're trying to select. So it is tough, but we also remember kids from tryouts 2 years ago, and some people were on the team in 2020 that are trying out again and are eligible. So some of the decisions are potentially going to be a little bit easier than others, and some are going to be very tough. I think it's going to be some late nights making the last couple of roster spots.
Is there we'll ask you two questions to this. Is there a deadline that you've set as a coaching group of when that comes out? And secondly, or maybe I'll ask you that first question because the second question is not really related. So first question, when can we expect the roster drop?
Yeah, I think that potentially is something that the head coaches are aware of that deadline. I think that last time we made the decision within a few days, and then the emails would go out within a certain frame of time afterwards. So we're actually having a meeting right after this call in like 13 minutes to kind of discuss a little bit about what's been happening so far.
Yeah, that's why we got to make sure we keep the podcast moving. But I do have another one more question. For those who are living in small towns, this is why I'm asking it. I'm giving you small town people some love right now. For those like last roster spots, are you taking, and maybe you can't speak to this, but is there some thought into taking, I think we've talked about this before, but taking someone from a smaller town so they could like kind of bring it back to their community? Or are you going to go maybe major city or just take the best person available? What does that look like? Give us some insight if you can.
I will not be able to give you that insight. The purpose of the U20 roster is to try to win. And so we want to select the best possible team possible. And we'll see what happens at the tryout. That's my like most like neutral response to that question. I think it might be different if I was head coaching, but I don't really know kind of what their philosophy is with regards to that. And we'll have to see, because there are a couple out of towners coming to the BC tryout.
Just ball out. That's ball out. And yeah, we'll see you there. And I'm excited to just talk about the team. Maybe obviously when the team's announced, we'll get a couple people on to talk about their experience and then encourage the next generation to apply as well. So we're going to move into the last bit of news here. Some bids already taking place. Metro East region's been decided, but not the Northwest and New England. Let's start in the Northwest because we actually have the schedules to look at. New England men's, we don't. So let's start with Northwest. We'll go Northwest men's. Looks like you kind of know what's happening with the schedule. UBC, UVic, what are their chances here? This is going to be a tough schedule ahead here, it looks like.
Yeah, it's a bit of a rough schedule. I think both of them are in pools where they could come first or second. I could see both of those scenarios happening. It's just when you only have two bids, the Sunday is kind of a slog fest. So on the open side, basically you have to win your pool to go into semis. It doesn't mean that if you don't win your pool, like if you come second place, you still have a chance to sneak in, but you have to win like 3 or 4 games in a row in order for that to happen, basically. So if you win your pool, you're in semis. If you win semifinals, you're in finals. If you win that, obviously you get the number one bid. If you lose that finals game, you drop down and you wait for the teams that lost and won all the games underneath you to finally meet up with you for that second place game. So it's definitely hectic. We have that first crossover round. The first round of playoffs actually is on the Saturday. So at 3 p.m., I believe Mountain Time. I'm not sure what the actual time zone is.
I think it's West Coast time. Yeah.
It's in Walla Walla. I don't really know. Maybe it's still, my geography is. So
we're not a geography podcast, so it's fine.
We're not. Absolutely. When I just said Saskatchewan had mountains, you're like, nope, it's pretty flat. I'm like, well, there you go. It's called the prairies, I guess. So basically, it's going to be a slogfest, as we said. So UVic is going to be in a pool with Montana State and with Western Washington. Western Washington, the strongest team in their pool. Yeah. And then UBC has Oregon and Idaho, Oregon being the strongest team in their pool. So good luck to all the guys on that side. Do you have any thoughts, feelings, emotions about the men's side of the Northwest?
Well, to be honest, I feel bad for the teams that come in second because, as you mentioned, it's the gauntlet to get in there. Yeah. You have to win, first of all, that you cross over with the third place of a pool. And then after that, you're playing the second best, like the second pool winner or like second place as well. And then you just keep going. And there's just a lot of games. You have to win, was it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 straight if you come in second in your pool.
Yeah.
Am I looking at that right?
You're looking
I
at
think
that
that's
correctly,
correct.
because they have 2 playoff games on this Saturday. If they don't come first, say they come second, they're playing against the third place in a different pool. They win that, they play against someone below. It's like a different semis, and then
Yeah.
the losers in the top bracket start dropping down. So
Yep.
so it's a slog.
So, and the thing that always breaks my heart, I will say this, at regionals is when you lose the final and then you lose the game to go. Lose, see ya, as what Charlie Eisenhower has said. That is heartbreaking. I believe
I've
it
been there
happened to
before.
a team. Yeah, it's happened to teams. I think it happened to Carleton College this year, if I'm not mistaken. Or it's happened in years past to like other teams.
Not the Canadian
So,
Carleton College.
not Canadian Carleton, American, but yeah, it happened. It's happened to multiple teams. I can't list them off the top of my head, but that it's just lose, see ya. That's just the worst thing ever.
One thing to
But
note about the UVic men's teams is
yeah,
that I know a couple of their hotshot rookies will not be in attendance at regionals because they're going to be at the U20 Tryouts instead. So good luck to them.
so what you're saying is sell your UVic stock is what you're telling me.
Hey, I got this. I've been sleeping in this every night. It's my Vikes Nation crew. I believe.
Yeah, well, we're gonna stick with West Coast. So women's regional, we had mentioned on the podcast that they weren't UVic wasn't going, but then we had to kind of retract what we said. That's the nature of the podcast game here, Danie.
Yeah, absolutely. So UVic ended up getting a bid because a team in the Big Sky section ended up dropping out. So the Victoria women's team is maybe only going to have 12 or 13 players going. A few people are sick. Some people thought that they weren't going, so they have work shifts now that they couldn't switch. So they're sending a pretty skeleton crew. So good luck to them. It's kind of fun when you don't have that many players. It does feel like a bit of a grind. So I'm excited to see what they can do. And pretty similar to the open side where it's like there's only 2 bids. So there's a lot of games happening in order to determine who gets that second bid. So Victoria and UBC are in the same pool. So it's UBC, Oregon, Whitman, and Victoria, UVic. So it should be good. I think UBC is the heavy favorite in this pool. Basically, same thing. If they win this pool, they'll be crossing over to play against the number 2 team in the other pool, which would be maybe Western Washington, for example. And then if they win that, they would be in first place finals against, in theory, Washington. And if they lose, then they would be playing teams that are kind of bubbling up from below. So same as the men's side. So their first playoff game is also going to be on Saturday. So we are going to get some answers before Sunday even hits.
Yeah, it just reminds me of for those who know, if you know, the Chasing Sarasota documentary where Rhino throws the final game because we can't beat Revolver, so we're just going to try to win in the game to go. They actually did the lose, see ya that year. So I don't think, let's say Washington and UBC get there. I don't think they would do that because they're both like competitive teams and they're close to each other. So I think that would be really exciting. I wish I was, where is it, in Walla Walla?
Yeah. Closer to you, actually. Well, not closer to you than me, but closer to you than normal.
I was going to say, okay, Huckin audience, we need to give Danie some geography lessons or something.
Just a map would be good.
Just a map. That's what we need to do. So yeah, and then to conclude kind of our regionals preview, we do not have the New England bracket. Apparently there was a bracket, then it got changed. So, or like the schedule. So we don't know. McGill men's, we're wishing the best of luck. Like we said, 6 top 25 teams. I did meet Hayden Stone on the weekend. That was exciting. So Hayden, hopefully you're watching and we're wishing you the best of luck to your team. And, but sad news on the women's front though, McGill women's will not be attending regionals. There was lack of interest, but also a very high bid fee. So I think that it was like $650, I was told. I don't know if that's American or Canadian funds. But either way, that's the message we got on our Instagram. So they didn't want to play it. So that is sort of the regionals preview. Good luck. Yeah. We hope to see some Canadian teams at college nationals.
Yes, go get it, everybody. Best of luck, as Theo said. Run hard. Never give up on the disc. I think in the Northwest, the weather is going to be a little gross. So just think about your crisp zone throws. Make sure you're scanning the field, waiting for those poachy defenders. Just brains on, hearts open, be good teammates, give each other your energy, and then you're going to do just fine.
Yeah, that we're going short episode today. So that actually wraps our episode. We're gonna play quick ad for Be Ultimate, then we'll be right back. This episode is brought to you by Be Ultimate Apparel. Based out of Vancouver, BC, Be Ultimate is climate neutral certified and designs products that are built to perform. I personally love my 2 sun hoodies from them, and I rock them wherever I go. If you want to learn more about Be Ultimate, or if you're a club team captain and want to take advantage of their no strings attached offer for a free jersey, head over to beultimate.ca or visit the link in the show description.
Hey, this is Kelsey Hayden from Halifax Salty, and I'm a writer for Ultiworld. You're listening to the Huckin podcast, your coast-to-coast guide for all things Canadian Ultimate.
All right, welcome back. It's just me now, just your host from Toronto, Ontario. So thank you for listening. We're excited to continue bringing more coverage. We'll do a regionals recap next week and preview a big tournament coming out in Toronto in the Toronto Ultimate Exhibition that's happening in Brampton. So super exciting. Stay tuned for all that. Subscriber only, join me. I'm going to be talking AUDL, especially this upcoming week specifically. It's going to be a big week for Canadian teams. They're going to have their first chance at American teams since 2019 in the AUDL. So I'm going to talk all about that in the subscriber only section. So join me there. Otherwise, we'll see you next time.
Hey, this is Jack Eagles, captain of the McGill Men's A Ultimate Team, and you're listening to the Huckin podcast, your coast-to-coast guide for all things Canadian Ultimate.